Take a comfortable seat. Let's just start right away with just stirring. Like the spine is just stirring the pot, paying attention to our hips. This whole class, everything we do will be about hips, hip flexors, hamstrings, the inner thighs, the outer edges. Come into stillness. Bring your shoulders onto your back. You can close your eyes, and we're just going to take a few deep breaths right here that help us center, land, become present. And as you land here, as you become present, I'd like you to just bring to mind the first thing that comes up when you think about your hips. All of the muscles, bones, tissue, organs that reside here in this part of your body between the middle of your thighs and your waistband. So much going on there. Notice if you have positive images or any negative feelings, thoughts, judgments. Just notice what comes up when you simply think about your hips. And then let your hands start to press on your thighs as a way of just grounding your legs, your femur bones down. And you're going to bring your hands up to where you feel the heel of your hands pressing into the crease of your hip, the place where the femur bone meets the pelvis, and just really press down right there and feel that space. This practice today, we will look at the sacral chakra, the second chakra, which is all about fluidity, movement, ease, flow. Bring your hands onto your low back and just give a little massage to the place right below your waistband, where you can feel the bones touching your fingers, the top of your glutes, the sacrum, the tailbone. A tender place for a lot of us. So bringing your awareness here to this bowl of the pelvis and all that's happening here in this area, let's just stay in awareness of what comes up here. We'll bring ourselves around to a tabletop. And let's start to move cat and cow, but we'll move with the hips first. So before you move anything in the upper body, just lift your tailbone. And then let the lower back start to bend a little bit more. Let your belly sink, chest sink. And the last thing you'll do is lift your chin. Feel this pose, cow pose. And then keep your head lifted, but tuck your tailbone. Round your lower back, your upper back, and the last thing that happens is the chin tucks. And let's do that a couple times. Tailbone moves first, the tail wags the dog, the head follows last. Tuck, and the head moves last. We'll go one more time, both ways. Finding a neutral spine. Shift your left hip towards your left shoulder, so bend sideways. Come back to center, right shoulder, right hip. And do that a few times, kind of a sideways cat and cow. See if you can feel the area around your waistband and just below. Side bend to side bend. And then widen up your knees and move in super slow motion back into child's pose. Like literally slow down, let your elbows come to the ground, create a pillow for your head, and then just rock your hips from side to side over your heels. Notice what you feel here. Hip flexors, pelvic floor, inner thighs. Where do you feel sensation in this rocking movement? Think of being in a hammock, side to side. Hands to the earth, press back up to tabletop. Draw your knees close together. And once again, just move back in slow motion. And your knees might stop you, right? So just go to where you feel you can press back. And again, elbows to the floor, rock side to side. See if that feels any different. You notice something in the outer edges now. So it would be just a practice of exploration, and let's enter with that idea of not forcing, not pushing. We're not here to permanently lengthen any muscles. We're here to explore. Go ahead and lift to a tabletop position. Tuck your toes and lift into downward facing dog. The heels reach toward the earth, bend one knee and then the other. And notice what happens around each hip as you straighten and bend. Take your feet a little bit wider, maybe almost to the outside edges of the mat, and then bend one knee even more. Then the other, really rock into those outer edges. It's interesting, the same pose, just with a different focus, a different part of the body feels different, doesn't it? Let's start to bring our feet forward. Let's come into a forward fold. Just continuing the warm up now, we'll start to notice the hamstrings, the backs of the legs. Keep your knees nice and bent and walk your fingers to the outside of one foot and then the outside of the other foot. Outer edges, outer thighs, the IAT band. There's a lot going on there on the sides. Let's come back to center. Fingers touch to elbows, hang down here, and just bend and straighten your knees a few times. Start to feel that stretch moving into the backs of the knees. You might notice when your knees are bent, you feel a little more in the top of the hamstrings. And then press to lengthen into your flat back. All right, a really important factor of our hips is the way the femur bone plugs into the hip socket. So I'd like you to make two fists right here on the sides of your hip, and I want you to think of a foosball table, and I want you to just turn those handles so you lift from the hips and your spine doesn't round up. Come to the point where you feel your hips pressing forward a little bit, shoulders roll onto the back, and let's do that again. Let's turn the handle, move from the hip socket. The spine doesn't change. The knees can soften, and we'll lower back down. Let's do that 2 more times. Movement from the hip, find your flat back, and move from the hip. Come to a little back bend. You'll feel the front of your hips open a bit. Turn the handle. Forward fold. Come to your flat back one more time. Turn the handle. Lengthen. And fold. So forevermore, when you're in a yoga class and the teacher says, roll up one vertebra at a time, say, nope, I'm going to lift from my hips. So let's press and lengthen. This time we'll sweep the arms all the way up, high stretch to extended mountain. Take your feet a little wider. And we'll drop the left arm. Let the right hip press out to the side. So the right arm is still reaching straight up in the air, but just feel something more around the hip. A little bit of an awkward position. Come back to center and switch. Arm stays high, hip presses out. Let's go each way one more time. Body should be starting to warm up. Allow a little bit more movement and space. Come back to center. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Turn your toes out. Widen your stance enough that you can come down to where your elbows touch the insides of your knees. We're just going to move like this with breath. Inhale to open. Exhale to squat. So now your legs are in external rotation and you're using some different muscles. You're using the hip rotators. Beautiful. Come up with your arms, take a nice deep breath in, stretch out wide in all four directions. Stretch even more, and then lower your arms to your sides. Bring your feet back together. All right, we are going to go through some sun salutations today because I want to make sure we're good and warm before we start diving into the deeper muscles. So the first one, modified. The next two will turn up the heat a little bit and you have options. Okay, so inhale, arms reach. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Moving from the hips, exhale, downward facing dog. Shifting forward into plank pose. This first time through, let's drop our knees. Elbows spin forward. Exhale to lower halfway down. Hold, build heat. And then melt to the floor, shoulders on the back, cobra. Press back through child's pose into downward facing dog. Pedal the heels, breathe the breath. And then look forward, step or hop your feet to your hands. Lift halfway, lower, exhale. Let's take a big energizing breath in, arms up, and come back to the heart. Nice, everybody. Round two, reach high. Bow low. Lift halfway. Step back, downward facing dog. As we shift forward, you can lower your knees or stay on your toes. Exhale, halfway down, hold, and then rise up, either cobra or up dog on your feet. Good, exhale, downward facing dog. Press the heels, pedal the heels. What are you noticing in your hips? Take a look forward, feet to hands, lift halfway. Fold forward. Rise high. And hands to heart. Round three, sun salutations are just a moving meditation. Start to make your movements feel a little bit more water-like, a little less rigid. Down dog, take a vinyasa, knees or toes. So what does that feel like when your joints are a little more like water, a little less rigid? Pause. Breathe. And come forward. Feet to hand, lift halfway. Exhale to fold. Rise up high, extended mountain. And bring your hands to your heart. Beautiful. Inhale, arms high. Sun B, exhale, chair. Inhale, rise up into a back bend and swan dive, forward fold. Lift halfway and step back, down dog, take a vinyasa. The purpose of this Sun B is simply to build heat. Raise the right leg, step through, rise up, moving like water. Take away the hard edges, even though it's a little bit harder work. Vinyasa, knees or toes. Inhale, left leg high, step through, rise up, deep breath. One more vinyasa, high to low, knees or toes, moving like water. As we come back into down dog, you can take a moment in child's pose if you like. Reconnect to your breath. Reconnect to your hips. Nod your head. Find fluidity. And bring your feet to your hands. Lift halfway, moving from the hips, and then a deeper forward fold. Bend your knees, grab the backs of your ankles, and gently pull. Let breath move into your belly. Let your belly press onto your thighs. Head closer to your feet. Bend the knees, arms reach, chair pose. All right, I know it's mean, but we're gonna do one more Sun B. Inhale, lift back, we'll go fast. Exhale, fold. Half lift. Step back, take a vinyasa. Sole purpose is heat. That's our goal. When you're ready, the right leg lifts. Step through, warrior one, and vinyasa. And remember, friends, you can always skip a vinyasa. That's okay too. Left leg lifts, step through, rise high. One more vinyasa. The last one I'll ask you to do today. Make it good. Down dog or child's pose. All right, I think we're warm enough. Should we go? Should we go deep? Take your feet wide, the width of your mat. Hands come back about a foot. Right hand to the outside of the left ankle. You're just gonna pull. You're gonna pull and look under your shoulder. Lengthen your spine, push into your left hand. And switch. Left hand to the outside of the right ankle. Pull. And push with your right hand. Hello, hips. Bring your hands back to your feet. Put a bend in your knees and rise all the way high. Hands to heart. Turn to the long edge of your mat. Okay, everybody say, I'm ready. Wiggle our way down. Wiggle our way down into a wide squat. Bring your hands to your knees and just gently press on the insides of the knees so it feels like you're already getting a little stretch here in these inner thighs. Tall spine, as deep a squat as you can hold here. We're going to lean forward and bring one shoulder to the opposite knee. And so you're pressing on the inside of that knee. A hip stretch that's also a back stretch. Breathe into the muscles in your back and your inner thigh. Let's go the other way. Press through, keeping those knees wide. Deep breath. And come back to center. Release for a second by straightening the legs. Bring your hands to your hips and just do a little rock. A little rock, side to side. What are you noticing now about your hips? All right, let's come back to that plie squat, and we're just going to bring it down to where our fingertips can touch the ground. Up here. We're going to lunge first to our, let's go to our right side. Let's lunge to the right. Stack your right knee over your right heel, and then see how it feels to pick up your left toes. Find something here in that inner thigh. Bring your right hand right next to your right foot and let your arm and your leg just kind of squeeze together. Almost like you're using your arm to push your knee back a bit. And then just let yourself lean on your arm. See if that gives you a nice opening in your inner thigh. Just lean in on your arm a bit. Breathe deep. And then release that, turning toward your right foot. Drop your left knee down to the mat. Okay, so hello, hip flexors. I'm actually gonna turn around so I can look at you. So your right foot is forward. You're feeling your left hip flexor. Pause here for just a moment. I'm gonna find a nice deep stretch here. Let's tuck our toes and just lift the knee. I'm gonna find that. I always move a little bit in my poses. I feel like just a little bit of movement helps to, I don't know, let the body know that we're coming in friendly. From here, press to the top knee, take a deep breath, arms up high. Grab your left wrist and stretch up and over. Hands to the heart, shift forward and twist to your right side. Elbow or hand to the thigh. Just find a twist here. How does a twist feel to your hips? What's happening in your right hip? What's happening in your left hip? Come back to center, drop that knee to the ground. All right, we're gonna take our left hand actually off the mat a little bit so we can lean into the left hand. Right hand to the right knee, and you're gonna push that right knee out away from you. Pushing the knee out to the side, and you've got a little bit of a back bend. I don't know if you can see that very well. I'm just pushing that knee out. Be gentle here. We never want to feel any sharp pain, right? But we are going a little deeper today, so really be sensitive to the pinpoint areas. We want to avoid that sharp pain while leaning into discomfort. Breathe deep, feel deep, and come back to center. Go ahead and tuck your toes under and bring yourself back to center. Wide straddle. Our toes will turn out to the sides, and let's just move our bodies from side to side. Take a nice, easy reset lunge. I'll tell you, I've been having a little bit of knee, whispers lately in one knee. And this sequence really helps. If I can get up around my hips, it actually helps my knees a lot. So lunge to the left side. Stack the knee. Pick up your right toes. And then the right hand comes right next to the right foot. And the arm and the leg start to press into each other. When you feel solid there, just kind of give your weight to your arm. Just kind of let yourself hang out on your arm a bit to create an opening in the left inner thigh. Breathe. And then release, and we're going to turn, dropping the knee, finding ourselves in a low lunge, kneeling lunge. We've got our left foot forward and our right knee down. Notice the difference in the two sides. Notice this, the opposite action of squeezing in the left hip and opening in the right. Tuck the back toes and lift the knee. Let there be a little more length in that back leg. Let's stand up tall, reach high, grab the right wrist, stretch up and over. The psoas is also part of the hips. That hip flexors, deep, deep muscle. It's referred to as our anger muscle. When we store anger, go ahead and come to center, hands at heart. Shift forward and twist to your left. So you've heard Shakira say, hips don't lie. And you've heard plenty of yoga teachers say, our hips is where we store our emotions. Absolutely true. A lot comes up in a practice like this. So we just hold space. It all gets to be here. Go ahead and come back to center. Drop your hands, drop your knee. Take your right hand off the edge of the mat and let's just press into the left knee now. The knee comes away and you're leaning back away from your hand. Take a little back bend. Big, juicy hip opening. Maybe a little uncomfortable. No sharp pain. We're here to listen. We're here to observe, to make room. We're here to feel. Come back to center. And then as we tuck our back toes, let's just come back to that wide straddle and lunge from side to side. Right and left, just kind of shake it off a bit. Okay, let's go on. Come into a warrior one with your right foot forward and your back foot turned slightly in. Reach your arms high. Interlace the fingers, press the palms up, and let's just see if we can stretch. So press down through your feet, press up through your hands, make your whole body longer in between those 2 points. Release your hands behind you, interlace. Heel toe your right foot out to the side a bit and dive inside your leg for humble warrior. Another really deep posture for your hips. And let your torso sink down a little bit more on the inside. You should feel a lot in your right hip crease, your right glute. As we release this, let's float the arms up into warrior two. Line your feet up again, and then straighten your right leg, reverse warrior. And really reach up with those fingers. Find again that nice long stretch in the side of your body. Good. Come back to center. Turn all 10 toes. Find your hip crease and fold. Just let yourself hang down here for a couple of breaths. Especially the exhales. Come up to a flat back. We're going to twist. So right hand underneath you, left arm opens up. You might find some inner thigh there. And return to center and switch. Left arm up. Sorry, it's your right arm, huh? Right arm up. Come back to center, lengthen through your flat back, bend your knees, hands to thighs will come to stand. And then turn toward your left foot into warrior one. In warrior one, interlace your fingers, press the palms up. So feet really intentionally pressing down while hands press up. How much space can you find in between the palms and the bottoms of your feet? Really stretch. Breathe to make that stretch even bigger. And then release, hands come behind you. Heel toe, left foot to the left side, dive in, humble warrior. And see about really sinking down into your left hip. Staying with breath. The big posture. And sigh it out. Let's release the fingertips, come back up, opening into warrior two, line up your feet, and then that left leg straightens. This should feel really good to just open up into this tall reverse warrior. Nice stretch through the side body. And return back to center, square your toes to the side of your mat. Lengthen through the spine, and then let's hinge forward from the hips again. Go ahead and lower down toward the ground. Walk your fingers to your left foot and gently pull yourself over that leg. See what you find there. Switch sides. Draw your torso to your leg. See what you find there. And then come to center. We're going to keep some weight on our hands, and I'd like you to take your feet as wide as you can. So this is the middle splits. And for most of us, We're not really that close to the floor. And that is, remember all about how your hips are made in a bony structure way. If you have really shallow hip sockets, you can just drop right down into the splits. If you can drive a truck underneath here, you've probably got deeper hip sockets. So no judgment, there's nothing to accomplish, just an uncomfortable stretch. You could move your feet in a way that takes pressure off of your knees. And then heel toe in just enough that you can come down to your knees. And we're going to do the same posture, but on our knees. So this is called frog. And you probably knew we would do this today if you knew we were doing hip openers. So fold the corners of or the edges of your mat so you have extra padding under your knees. And then we'll go ahead and widen up our knees. So frog pose is like a very wide child's pose. And before you lay your head or your arms down, I want you to just inch side to side so you feel your knees kind of wedging wider, inching wider. So you should already be a little bit uncomfortable. Let's come to our elbows. And that's where a lot of us might choose to stay. You could also bring a block in and have a pillow under your head. You want your knees and your hips lined up. And the last little piece is we're going to flex our feet and take your feet out wide like a frog. And every one of us has a different way of doing that. It looks different. Uncomfortable. Close your eyes and feel. I was teaching in the prison this week, and one of the girls said, after yoga, we had done some hip work and we'd talked about some emotional things, and she said, I don't feel better. I want to feel better. And I said, yoga is just asking you to feel. It never promises to make you feel better. It just wants you to feel. So let that be your motto in these next few breaths. I'm just here to feel. A little bit of patience required with this posture. Breathe a little deeper, feel a little deeper. What shows up here for you? Let's bring ourselves out of this posture very slowly. Elbows, hands, inch your legs in. Takes me longer and longer. And come toward the front of your mat in a tabletop position. Of course, we're going to move into pigeon. I'd like to offer you a really nice version of pigeon, though. If you have a bolster or even a block will work, but something soft to bring your right leg over, so you're kind of doing a split. This is a really nice way to support pigeon pose. So it's really great for anyone that has anything going on with knees or back, really. So I have this cushion right underneath my hips. You can try that if that works for you. And then we're just going to come down to either elbows or all the way down onto our forehead. And we're just here to feel. There's no way to get this wrong or right. We've put our body in a shape, and we're taking deep breaths, and we're feeling. Let your mind Focus on the area where you feel the most sensation. Imagine breath moving right to that spot. Fresh air, open space, awareness. Slowly rise up and just change sides. So if you're using a prop underneath you, take your time readjusting, shifting. If this is still not helpful, you can lay down on your back and do figure 4, reclining pigeon as an alternative. Just noticing that the two sides are different. Awareness and breath. It's all that's required here. Awareness and breath. Nothing to fix, nothing to change, no judgment. Just noticing. Deepen your breath. Find that one spot where you find the most sensation. Bring your breath right into that single spot. Notice any resistance, any part of your body that's pushing back, pulling away from. See if you can lean in. We'll slowly start to shift up and out of this posture, taking any kind of movement that your body needs to reset from that. We're actually just going to roll right over onto our backs with our strap to finish this practice. So if you need something along the way, like a down dog or shaking your legs out, go ahead and do that. And when you make it to the floor, bend your knees. Bring your right foot into the band. And we're going to start by really pulling hard on the band so it'll feel kind of like happy baby. You're pulling that knee down to the outside of your rib cage. And while you do that, slowly straighten your left leg flat to the floor. Feel what the two different hips are doing here. And then slowly extend, straighten the right leg. You can pull the toes down, you can soften the knee, find a nice stretch for your hamstring here. Shoulders are relaxed. Find the place to hold the band where your neck and your shoulders can be on the floor. And then we'll start to move the leg out to the right side. You can keep your left hand on your hip or out to the side as kind of a counterbalance. And just finding that stretch for the inner thigh one more time. Breathe here and notice. come back through the center. Nice and easy. Switch hands on the band. And open that right arm out to the side. Let the leg come across. And now breathe into the outer thigh, the outer hip, the lower torso. Exaggerate breath, find the places. And gently come back to center. As we release this foot, I'd like you to lie as if you were in tree pose. Let the right foot come to the inside of the knee, the right knee drops out passively. Pause here for just a moment. And then place that right foot on the floor, the left foot in the band. Hold down on that foot the way you would if you were doing Happy Baby. Really squeeze at the pit of the hip, knee just outside the rib cage. And then slowly straighten your right leg. Super slow. Take a few deep breaths right here. So much happening in these hips. Go ahead and extend the leg. Gently draw the leg closer to you. Find your hamstring. And then holding the band in your left hand, open that leg out to the side. Oxygen in, long breath out. Notice, feel. And we'll cross the body, right hand on the band, the leg moves across. Extend your left arm. Turn your head to the left. And take the deepest breaths that you have taken this whole practice. Fill your whole body with breath. And sigh it out. And as you come back to center, release the band and come into fallen tree. The foot to the inside of the knee drops open. Take your arms wide to the sides and just be here for a few breaths. And then start to make your way into Shavasana. Extending the feet out, the arms out. Roll your head from side to side. Let's take a couple of moments here in rest. A lot got opened up in this practice. So what might feel good is to put a blanket or a sweatshirt over your hips, a little bit of weight there. It might feel like covering back up the spaces that were opened. It might feel a little more safe and comforting. Once you get settled, begin to observe breath coming in through your nose, making its way down your throat and into your lungs. And imagine that oxygen traveling down into your hips, just feeding, bathing your hips with new life, new energy, new space. And as you breathe out, imagine that whatever got dislodged is being carried out with your breath. Toxins, history, carried out on the breath. Take in another nice, slow, deep breath that starts at your nose and ends in your hips. And exhale a breath that starts in your hips and leaves your nose. Gently move your body, wiggle, stretch, and yawn. And we will meet again in a seat whenever you're ready. Let's close this practice with our hands together in front of our beautiful beating heart in a gesture of gratitude. Remembering to have gratitude for all of it. It all gets to be here. It's all part of the process. After 20 years of practicing and teaching yoga, I can say one thing, and that is yoga works. And it doesn't always promise to make you feel better. It promises to make you feel. And when we feel, we heal. Friends, as you leave this practice today, please take great care of yourself. Hydrate, journal, spend some quiet time alone if you can. Hip opening practices are subtle, but they're also very powerful. Reach out to me if you need any support. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste.